This episode is here to liberate you. If you've ever felt like you should be doing more, but you're not, or like you've lost your fire and you can't seem to get it back, then this is for you. Today, we're going to talk about something that's real, that's raw, and that's rarely discussed openly, which is why high performers will often stop, stall, or sabotage, and how to reignite your inner fire and quantum leap forward. Welcome to the Superhuman Selling podcast. I'm Elise Archer, and I am excited to dive into this topic today. I think that this is a topic that many of us who are high performers, I'm guessing you're listening to, may not talk about a lot, or there may be a feeling of shame, or there may be a feeling of failure involved in it, which is if you've been going for a big goal and you feel like you've slid back, like you stopped, like you've stalled, like you're self-sabotaging, what's really going on and how do we approach that? And I've seen this in I've seen this in some of my clients. I've seen this in my own life certain times where like you're going for something, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm in it. And then there's a halt, there's a freeze, there's a regression. And that's a powerful time where you get to make a decision about whether you're going to be more committed to your future and your vision of your future that you're calling in, or to the past and some of the old emotional addictions to fear, insecurity, scarcity, etc. And so it's this powerful pivot point moment that you get to really self-define. And so this is coming off of, as I record this live, we're, oh my gosh, what is it? 3 weeks post our live event, our Superhuman Selling live event. And by the way, a lot of people have been asking, all right, when is there going to be another one? We will have more live events coming up. Absolutely. The next Superhuman Selling large group live event, probably summer of 2026. So make sure that you're on our email list and that we're connected on social if that's something you want to get in touch about. But we will have more events coming up before then too. So the bottom line is just make sure we're connected so that you can get in touch and know what's happening. But I say all of that to say, we wanted to make the theme for this month. So every month we're doing a theme in our community and on the podcast. And the theme for this month, as I record live, is all about grounding and solidifying your quantum leap. So how do you keep the energy going after you ascend, after you have a quantum leap, after you say yes? What happens when you're back in your home office and there's no one watching and it's you and your thoughts are telling you you're not worthy, you're not good enough, who am I to do this? So this is a really powerful time to recommit to your vision and to use this opportunity to self-define as the version of you who has what it is that you desire versus the old version. All right. And so I want to dive into this today because, again, as I record, I know that this is timely for our community, but I also know and trust that whenever you're listening to this is going to be the perfect time for you. So let's talk about it. So why do people stop when they're in a quantum leap, when they've said yes? There's this resistance that we will feel a lot of times that crops up around taking action. And it's not usually laziness or lack of willpower. It's fear, right? It's your nervous system going into survival mode. It's unworthiness. It's limiting beliefs. It's you feeling like, oh my gosh, I just said yes to this thing and I flowed the money out. And now, my bank account looks lower and I'm making that mean something. I'm forgetting that money is meant to circulate and flow. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm going back to the old version. The old version of me wouldn't have shown up in that way, right? Like maybe you went to an event and you got inspired and excited and you invested in yourself, or maybe you did an incredible meditation and you had a vision of your future and you're like, you know what, I'm going to invest in a VA today, or I'm going to put my house on the market. And then that voice in your head comes up and is like, what am I doing? What in the world, right? So how do we deal with that voice? How do we deal with that voice? I think one of the things to know is that that voice isn't actually your truth. And we know that when we are in a negative emotional state, that the thoughts you're going to think from that state are not your truth. They're not your highest and best good. And that's why you're experiencing that negative emotion. And so, from a neuroscience standpoint, because we can only think to the level of our feeling state, if you're in a feeling state of self doubt, you're never going to have a thought of self empowerment. You're not going to have thoughts of course I can do it. And here's, in fact, the next step I can take towards it. You're going to have thoughts that mirror that feeling of self doubt that you're experiencing. And so we want to be really conscious of what is the feeling state that I'm in when I'm thinking this thought. And this is so, so powerful because you can know from that place. I don't care how real it feels, I don't care how loud it feels. If you are thinking, if you are in a feeling state that is negative, then the thoughts you're thinking from that place are not going to be your highest and best spiritual truth. All right. So I'm going to pull in some Bob Proctor today in today's episode because I feel like he's a powerful voice that I've used a lot of his teachings to help me with this too. So Bob Proctor talked about paradigms, and he said a paradigm is a multitude of habits passed down from generation to generation. It controls the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. All right. So when you're in an ascension, when you're moving, you're taking action towards your goals, and then you stop, right? It doesn't mean that you're not capable. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you can't have that thing. It's that there's this old paradigm that's hijacking your nervous system, that's taking over your nervous system. And I remember even when I hit my first 100K month, I had a lot of stuff happen right off of that where I started experiencing fear. I started thinking, oh my gosh, who am I to do this? I started having crazy thoughts about my kids getting hurt or sick. Actually, at the time, it was just one kid. It was my oldest son, Jack. And I started having all these thoughts come in about, like, oh, is something going to happen to him or this or that? And what was such a powerful awareness from that time was that it's kind of what Gay Hendricks talks about this in the book, The Big Leap. It's this concept of upper limiting, where we get to a point where we bring in way more expansion than ever before. We bring in way more abundance, or we say yes in a bigger way. We commit in a bigger way. And then we start to experience increased fear. Maybe we bicker with our spouse or our partner. Maybe a health issue crops up. And what it is, it's the nervous system trying to self regulate, trying to bring you back down to what feels normal. So even though you may not love feeling self doubt or stuck or kind of so in your life, if that's what's normal to you, that's where your nervous system feels safe. That's where you feel comfortable. So it will trigger and fire thoughts to you and emotions to you to try to bring you back to where you were. So we can think in those moments, oh my gosh, something's wrong. But what it is it's an opportunity to recalibrate. All right. It's an opportunity to recalibrate at this new level. And that's part of why we do so much identity work in our program and why we say your results will never supersede your identity. Because to have and to hold a certain amount of money or a certain amount of results, it has to feel natural to you. It has to feel normal to you. And so there's nervous system regulation work that gets to be done in order to recalibrate at that new frequency. And that can look like upping your financial thermostat to say, all right, maybe I was at $100,000 months, but now $1 million months are my norm. So what does that feel like? How do I think from that place? Who is the version of me at that level? Or maybe for you, it's like you want to go from a 5K month to a 10K month or a 10K month to a 100K month. Again, the number really doesn't matter, but what it is it's about stepping into a more expanded version of you. That's what it is. And so that's the power of bridging what we call the identity gap and looking at, all right, who am I currently being versus who is the version of me at this new level? All right. And so there's another concept I want to talk about today in the podcast called the activation gap. All right. And so that's where you're this gap between when you get started and when you actually implement. All right. And if you don't know how to bridge the gap, then you stay stuck in this loop of almost, right? You stay stuck in this loop of almost. And that's part of why I'm not really big on, I mean, yes, like habit stacking. Yes, we can do the things. Yes, we can set up the environment for success. So I shouldn't say I'm not big on it. I am big on it. And if someone asks me to come in and talk about, well, what should I do to rework my morning routine to be more successful? It's not about, or like, what are the things I should be doing in my business? What are the steps I should be taking in my sales to sell more? I don't want to give you the steps first. I don't want to give you the strategy first. I want to connect with you on the identity, the version of you, the embodiment, the mindset, the self-concept of who are you at this new level. Because once that feels natural and normal, just as natural and normal as when you look up at the sky, you say it's blue, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to affirm that the sky is blue, it just is. You can do that same work for your identity, where you can bridge the gap and say, it is natural, normal, automatic for me to have the identity of me at $1 million months, of me at a seven-figure business, if that's your goal, of me as an entrepreneur when maybe you've been in corporate, right? So we can, again, we can do the right things, but if the identity isn't rooted in this is who I am, it's natural, normal, automatic for me to make this amount of money, for me to make this amount of sales, then you're going to slip off. You're going to have a gap between where you want to be versus where you are. And if you listen to last week's episode, the last episode we produced, I interviewed my integrator, Laura, who a couple weeks ago made the decision to leave her corporate job and come work here with me full time. And we talked about taking action towards that. And she made a really powerful decision for herself during a beach walk with me of, you know what, I'm doing this. I should say, don't ever go for a beach walk with me because you're gonna commit to your greatness. But funny enough, that wasn't even the intention of the walk, it kinda just happened on there, but it was beautiful, and in the episode, we talk about, how she made that decision, and then I had her come in and share with our community, this past week about aligning with this new frequency, because one of the things we didn't talk about on the episode, but has happened since then is the month that she left her corporate job and came here, she tripled her income. She tripled her corporate income coming here and working. And so there's a new level that has unfolded. There's a new vibrational version. There's a new financial thermostat. And so we were doing some work on our group call yesterday about around solidifying that and making that natural, normal, automatic. Because from that place, the actions you take are going to be totally different. You know, like if you know that X amount is coming in, maybe you have a quantum leap income month, and then you go to your next month and you're like, "Oh my gosh, can I sustain it? Oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to do this?" You're not fully bridged yet with that version of you who naturally, normally, automatically brings in that amount of money, right? With money, and we're gonna talk a lot about money in this episode because that's what I like to talk about generally, and that also is probably some of what you're here for. So, there is a feeling state to money flowing naturally, and it feels like the confidence, certainty, trust, like lack of thinking about it that you have when it comes to the air you breathe, right? So you're not thinking obsessively or worrying about, am I going to have enough air for my next breath? You just kind of trust that it's there. You don't think about it a whole lot. That is the energy with money circulating powerfully. Now, with the work that we do in the community and that we do with our clients, and also I want to share with you here as a listener, there's a feeling state and a recalibration to your nervous system to just kind of have a knowing and a sense and a peace that things are always flowing and moving in your life. Money is always flowing, money is always coming in. And simultaneously, there is calibrating at the new level. So if you want to go from 10K months to 30K months, there's a different level of thinking at 30K months. You're thinking about grocery shopping a little bit differently. You're thinking about your car bill, your car payment a little bit differently than you were at the 10K months. So you got to go to that end state and think from there. Again, and so if you're experiencing a gap in what you're saying you want versus what you're doing and the actions that you're taking, there is a belief that is holding you back right now. And that belief can be something like, I'm not worthy, I'm not safe, my parents didn't do it, I don't trust myself, etc. That belief is stopping you from taking the action, because if you actually believed that you could have what you wanted, you would be taking the action right now. Because I'm about to ask you if that makes sense. I'm imagining that you're nodding your head here in this episode. So, how do we reactivate? Let's say you've gone for a goal, you've said yes, you've committed, and now you're stalling, you're freezing, you're like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" Let's talk about 3 steps that you can take here. Number 1, I don't want you to try to focus on controlling or shifting outer circumstances. Not right now. I actually really never want to focus on that. We want to focus on our inner state. State over circumstances. So do not try to shift or control the circumstances from the state you are in right now. All right. Your job in this moment is to shift your state. All right. Um, and you're gonna, so there's a lot of different ways to do that. For me, I will say, you know what? I need to set this down because I know I can feel my brain is like going in a loop here. And it's not gonna be helpful. So I'll set it down, I'll go for a walk, I'll watch something that opens up my heart. We did this with our 10K club group yesterday, where I had them watch this beautiful video from Oprah on gratitude, and you can find it on YouTube. It's like a 12-minute video. You wanna open your heart and connect to a higher frequency, watch that video. It's so beautiful. From that place, now, because we think to the level of our emotional state from a place of gratitude, appreciation, nothing needs to have necessarily shifted or changed in your life or in your circumstances yet, you're gonna see things differently. Things that maybe felt heavy aren't gonna feel so heavy. Things that felt challenging that you were caught up in, you're like, why was that such a big deal in the first place? Of course, there's an easy solution here. So, state over circumstance. State over circumstance. All right. So, get present, ground in. All right. Your nervous system in this instance, it doesn't need you to task master it, it needs you to lead it. All right. So remember, it works for you. You can train it to work for you, not the other way around. All right. But it's all about conscious awareness with this. Number two, I want you to rewrite the narrative of what's happening. And a lot of times when we're in a place where we feel like, oh, I've been going for it, I'm almost there. And now maybe I'm experiencing contrast. Maybe I feel like I'm stalling, I'm procrastinating, whatever. Um, we gotta rewrite the narrative. And so the story you may be telling yourself in that moment is, "Oh no, I made a mistake. I'm a failure. I'm not meant to have this." No, no, no. No, no, no. What it means, we want to always assign the most powerful meaning that we possibly can to a scenario. So the actual meaning is that contrast always lives at the edge of your next level. And so if you weren't pushing and growing, if you weren't expanding, if you were just kind of having more of the same, you might not be having the contrast right now, right? So it's an indicator, but you can move through the contrast. It's an indicator that you are ascending. It's an indicator that you are about to call in a new level of results. But it's all about the meaning that you give it. And so rather than saying, "Oh, it means I'm not meant to have this and I'm a victor or I'm stalling or I'm this or I'm that," like, "Oh my gosh, no. Wow, I'm quantum leaping. Okay, let me remember how this works. That's why I've been experiencing what feels like more challenges. That's why I've been having a hard time getting out of bed. That's why I've been experiencing this health thing or that health thing." So again, it's all about the meaning that you give it. So assign it a very different meaning and you will have a very different feeling about it. We always want to assign the most powerful meaning possible. All right. And how do you know you're on track? You feel better when you tell yourself that meaning. All right. And then number three, you got to recommit. You gotta recommit, but you wanna recommit from your vision. So a lot of times we will start to backtrack or kind of fall backwards in our actions or towards our goals because we're in the middle. We're in my friend Michelle Chalfant talks about this. She talks about the mush. Like when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it goes through a stage where its body, literally, it goes into the chrysalis and its body becomes mush before it can reform as the butterfly. So when you're in the mush and you haven't yet really connected with your butterfly state, but you know the caterpillar, you may say, "Oh my gosh, it felt a lot better to be that caterpillar. At least it wasn't mush." I love how this is coming out today. You understand it. At least I wasn't mush, right? So you know the caterpillar, even though you've got this vision in your mind of, "Oh, but I could be a butterfly. I see this beautiful blue, gold, yellow, whatever it is, butterfly in front of me. I know that's what I'm meant to be. Right now, I feel like mush. I'm gonna go back." Uh-uh. You gotta get reconnected to the vision of the butterfly. What is that for you? Speaking on stadium stages, selling out millions of copies of your book, being a multi-million dollar earner, right? Being a top physician, a top thought leader, a top speaker, coach, trainer, top in your company. What is the vision? You gotta go there. You gotta get reconnected with that. That's what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about when he talks about you need to be driven and led by a vision of your future rather than the memories of the past. This is really important. So vision of the future. Where am I going? What am I calling in? What am I committing to? From that place, you get energetically aligned, you get excited, you get emotional about it. From that place, yeah, you're going to take different actions. You're going to do some things that feel stretchy or that to the old version of you might feel risky or might feel this or that, but you're connected to that vision. So you know that you are acting and calling it in. All right. So you've got to recommit from that place. And this is where I think there's so much power in whatever community you're in. If you're in our community, if there's a different one that resonates with you, but be in a community of people who are all ascending, who are all challenging past paradigms, who are supporting each other and supporting you. You don't have to go it alone because that old paradigm of you at your old version, like unless you're doing consistent mental rewiring work to lock in the new version, it'll flare up. It'll tell you all the things. It'll tell you all the stories. All right. So you need to connect with, I would encourage, connect with a community. If you want to connect with ours, then reach out. We're here to help support. DM me. But either way, again, get involved in some type of a space, a community of people who have the results that you want so they can help support you in calling them in your own life. All right. This matters so much. And then from that place, we take action. From that place of being connected with the new vision, the new identity, the new version, we take the actions. We do the things. We invest in ourselves. We show up. We don't perpetuate what maybe felt like the stall or the downward spiral by getting caught up in it. We bless and release. We say, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I'm going to let you go now. I'm going to let you go. Thank you. I'm moving forward in my vision. All right. I'm moving forward towards this. So that's what's happening. And I hope that serves you. It is a decision. It is a recommit. And one thing that I'll say is it doesn't have to take long. I don't care how long you may have felt like I'm stuck or maybe you gave up on your dreams. No, it's simply a decision and you can shift it today. I was working with one of my private clients yesterday, just talking with her about like there's an immediacy to the action. There's an immediacy to the shift. There's an immediacy to your goals when you're available for things to come in quickly. And you do not have to wait forever or a long time for this to change. It can really happen with a decision. It can happen with a decision. All right. So you get to reactivate and you get to take the learnings and the lessons from the experience, but then you get to reactivate and recommit. So I would love to hear what showed up for you with this. Message me, leave a comment, let our team know. We're here to help support you. If you're listening to this in real time, we've got a lot of exciting things rolling out and some things in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned on my social media. I'm at Elise Archer on all social media. We'll be sharing more about it and giving you some opportunities to get involved in some really cool new things that we're rolling out as well. As always, thank you for being a listener of the podcast. Thank you for sharing this with your friends, with your network, with your community. I want to close out this episode by reminding you to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on the next episode.